Hello, Jason. Welcome back to Rendering Unconscious. I think this is your fourth time.
I think it is third. No, I think maybe fourth.
I think fourth.
Yeah, thanks
You're
for
one
having
of
me
the
back.
top ranking guests.
Oh, thanks.
Well, I'm so excited to talk about your new book. Love it. And
hmm
also Brittany.
Yeah, I like
Which
that
one do
we're
we
like
want to talk
merging
about
them
first?
together.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good combo. Everyone needs these books.
Yeah,
Can I See
yeah,
Your Niche by
we
Jason
should sell
Haaf
them together.
and The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. They actually go well together, the colors. Look.
Yeah, they
The
do.
pink is like similar. So y'all
hmm
have a similar aesthetic.
Yeah.
Which one should we start with?
Um. Hmm. I guess we can start with. Can I see your niche?
I love
Yeah.
it. Cut up poems and poetry and collages. And I wanted to say, we talked about this when Carl and I did our little 23rd Mind TV thing at the beginning of the year.
Mhm.
But I really love that you have the aesthetic from all the old porns like I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I mean,
love this aesthetic.
Yeah, I mean, I have access to it, but really Kyle Anderson, my husband, he's a collector of sort of everything.
Ooh.
So he has probably every Honcho magazine from like,
Ooh.
I don't know, 70 to 90.
Wow.
um, so it's like whenever I do want to make something, I kind of just blindly pull anything.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's all good. Everything from
Yeah.
these magazines is good. I have lots of Playboy, Penthouse, and We, and all these kinds of things. And it's
hmm
like everything's good. The ads, the texts, like the images, everything is good. It's just like such
Yeah.
a great aesthetic during that time period.
Yeah, it's also like super self-serious. So it's sort of like I find like no matter what writing I put over the image, even if the writing is really serious, when you combine like I don't know, when you combine like serious writing with a self-serious picture, it kind of just becomes a joke. Um Sometimes it just kind of I feel like those two things cancel each other out, and then it just kind of becomes like tongue in cheek, but not even on purpose.
It's all very tongue in cheek. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like great social commentary through
Mm,
random cut up images and words, but they're also like very the stock that you're pulling from is well curated. So it's
thanks.
not totally random. It's random out of a curated awesome stock.
hmm hmm Yeah.
And Carl said there was a lot more images he wanted to put in there that were great, but they were like actual porn, and the
Yeah.
little Amazon censors and stuff would reject our book. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is that once Carl sent me the proof, I mean, I sort of censor it a little bit anyway. Well, more than a little bit because of Instagram and social media. So when I saw the book, it didn't feel censored. It just, um, yeah, I don't know. And sometimes if it's really graphic, it works. But I think there's also something in covering up or like within the censorship that also kind of creates its own narrative a little bit. Because I guess it does leave something to the imagination. So yeah, it didn't feel censored.
yeah, I like it both ways. Sometimes it's
Mhm.
fun to have it covered, sometimes it's fun to have it
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
I should probably follow your trajectory though and like cover up things in my art more when I post it on Instagram. But the bots already hate me so much. I started a new account for Rendering Unconscious to try to
Mm,
like go around the bots since they hate my regular account so much. But it's already limiting that account, even though I haven't posted any art or anything. I don't know if it's like connected to me in the same way. So it's like, oh, she's trying to make this new account. So let's limit that too. But it won't let me
mhm,
post more than one post at a time. And if I try to post a second post, it will not post the text. It will only
mhm.
post the image, but no text. And I'm just like, why does it hate me? I don't know.
I mean, I think it like hates like sexuality. I think it really hates queer sexuality. I have a lot of friends who are artists and graphic artists, and their accounts are either shut down or threatened to be shut down all the time.
All the
So
time.
yeah,
It's really frustrating. That's why Twitter was great because it didn't do that, but now it
right.
sucks too. So
Yeah. I was never on Twitter, But I mean, I know that it did have a lack of censorship.
It was fun, and there was a moment where it was like I met so many great people because whatever they were doing with the algorithms, they were like really pairing me with like interesting people that we actually like really did click. And like so many podcast guests are from Twitter,
That's
but
cool.
that doesn't exist anymore. Now I can't see anyone or anyone. I don't even see Carl's posts. It's
Really?
like,
Yeah.
hello, algorithms, can you work at all, please? It's mostly just ads and stuff, or like
Mhm.
whoever has like the most hits, like they show you their stuff. But a lot of times they're trying to do the thing like TikTok where it's like things that are for you instead of just things you follow. So it's just showing you basically like ads or like popular posts that aren't even people that you follow. It's really
Mhm.
sucks. Everything
Mhm.
is just like so blatantly ad platforms now, all of them really.
Mhm. Yeah, it's all over.
It's all over. It was
Mhm.
fun for a second, but then it destroyed world politics and, yeah, everything else.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, good. So everyone needs to get Can I See Your Niche? Ooh, it's really fun. Highly recommend. Also, I just had a thought because okay, so wait, we're gonna put Brittany on in a second, but then we also have me. I just
Oh,
got
yeah.
this
Yeah.
yesterday, my Things Happen book.
Yeah, mine arrived just a couple days ago.
Oh, good. I'm so glad
Congratulations.
because people were getting them, and I was like, "Where's mine?" But now it's here. I'm happy,
Mhm. How
and
did
I
it
just
feel?
booked. It's a relief that it's out there because I
Yeah.
worked on it for like more than 3 years.
Mhm.
So it was like very intense, and a lot of the stories are very personal stories, even though it's all
Mhm.
fiction.
Mhm.
So, so it was like a lot to work through in putting it together. But I've read it many times now, and I like it. I think it's a fun book.
Good.
If I hadn't made it, I would like this book, and I'd be like, this girl's awesome. Like
Good.
I want to be her friend.
Yeah. Good.
So that's always a good sign. And I haven't told anybody about this stuff yet because it's just happening.
Mhm.
I'm coming to New York, which I haven't been
Ooh,
to New
when are you
York since
coming?
2018.
Wow.
I was invited to speak at a conference at Columbia University on auto
Awesome.
because the organizer Nathan Gorick said that Otto Ronk's ideas. He read a piece of mine on like art and artists, and he said my ideas seemed really similar to Otto Ronk's, and I was like, I've only
Mhm.
really read the Trauma of Birth and like the Doppelganger stuff by him, so like let me check out his stuff about artists, and it's like totally. I'm like, oh, I'm like channeling Otto Ronk from 100 years ago, basically, and
That
making him a
also
little
makes
modern
sense.
and more modern and feminine, I guess.
Mhm. When are
But
you coming?
so the conference is the 8th through the 10th,
Okay.
and then I'm going to go to Florida before that and see my parents.
8th through
Because
the
I have
10th of this month or next month?
no of
Of May. Okay, okay.
May 8th through the 10th. And then I'm
Mm.
gonna go to Florida first to see my parents because I haven't been to Florida since 2019.
Yeah.
Um, and I just got noticed today that I have a book launch event for this book,
That's amazing.
which is what brought this to mind. And then it's going to be at Books and Books, which is
Oh,
like, oh
cool.
my God, what a dream to have a book launch event at Books and Books. And they have a Coconut Grove store now.
Mhm.
So I'm going to do it at Books and Books, Coconut Grove, May 2nd. So that's very cool.
Yeah,
But
that's
then
amazing.
yeah, it's amazing. And then I just had the thought, since I'm going to be in New York, maybe we should have a book launch event for our little book babies
Yeah,
that are
I'm down
like,
for that.
best friends here. They're both like cut up
Mhm.
method books.
Yeah, they look like they go together.
Yeah, they do go together.
Mhm.
Cut up methods for par books. So maybe we could
Mhm.
do something while I'm
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm
Let's
down
set
for
that
that.
up. That would be really fun.
Mhm.
That's why I got excited. That was the idea I had, but then I had to
Yeah.
like explain where the idea was coming from. Like, hey, we should do a book launch event in New York out
Yeah.
of the blue.
Yeah, let's do that.
We're gonna do it.
Mhm.
Okay, I love that. Okay, now we have to dish about Brit.
Yeah.
How much did you love this book?
Yeah, no, I liked it a lot. I read it in like so there's only been a couple books that like I read in one sitting. I think I read it in within a day. I read that within a day, and then I also read Rosemary's Baby like within a day. So I mean, I do have like an interest in Britney Spears and her story, but it was uh it was conversational, and it's like this fast read, but like with pretty heavy content in it at the same time. But yeah, I really liked it. I also liked how um it wasn't like chapter one, like this subject, chapter two. It was kind of like roaming, which like I assume her head is like that a little bit to begin with. But it was sort of like things were just weaving in and out, and I thought it was just like a cool memoir.
Yeah, I really liked it. So I decided I had to read this book. Um, and I'm not a big Britney fan, like music wise and stuff. I'm just like a few years too old, I think, because I think
Hmm.
she's like just a couple years younger than me. And so
Hmm.
like I remember I worked at Target in like the music, movies, and book section when like Hit Me Baby One More Time came out, and I was probably like 19 or 20. So it's just a little bit too old. Like that wasn't
Hmm.
cool. You know what I mean? So I didn't get
Hmm.
into her in that way. And I just remember that seeing that video. Whenever you work at a music store and something comes out, it's like all those things you remember so well because they play like the same loop over and over and over the whole time you're working. And it's just like it's
Hmm.
burned into your brain. But anyway,
Hmm.
when I heard this came out, I was like, I have to read this book. I felt compelled. So I read her book and I read Matthew Perry's book both over winter break. And I was like,
Hmm.
who am I going to talk about this with? I was like, Jason, obviously.
Yeah.
Who else would I talk about Brittany with? But I feel like this story is so important.
Hmm.
And the fact that this can happen to someone at her level is
Hmm.
like, it's shocking, it's tragic. But I think she did a really good job also of like, she's clearly done like work on herself and like thinking about how these things are connected and showing how it's like happened to other women in her family before her, because this is
Yeah, like her
exactly what
grandmother,
happens.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it gets repeated over and over, and the fact that even when you're, like, this huge of a star and in that much in the public eye and people can still not know what's going on in that way, is like,
That's what I thought was kind of shocking with it. That like one that can and does still happen, but of how public she was and how much was going on behind the scenes, even though it's like if she steps outside, she's I mean, at one point she was so famous, she steps outside, she's being like hounded, but the public just didn't know. I mean, I guess some fans did know because they started the Free Britney movement, and that whole thing is kind of insane too. It was her
amazing.
fans that like shone a light on it.
Yeah,
They
amazing,
did
and I love how
detect
she,
it.
like, felt like she had this psychic connection that somehow they knew that she was in distress, and they could,
Mhm,
like yeah, they could, like, sense that she wasn't doing well, and they wanted to make sure that she was okay, and, like, basically
mhm,
came to her rescue. It's
mhm,
beautiful.
mhm. Yeah,
It is amazing.
the part that I remember was it was like towards the end when she was institutionalized again, and I think she said something about like a nurse being on a computer or something.
Mhm.
Or
The
she
nurse
was
pulled it
told,
up.
yeah, and she was told like, "Oh, there's these people outside like with signs." And I just thought like, what like it's kind of like a stunning visual, like this pop star institutionalized and then like outside where she can't see there's people with signs to say free her. I mean, it sounds like fiction.
It should be a movie for sure. They need to
Yeah,
make a
I'm
movie of her
sure it will
life.
be.
Yeah. I'm sure that's already in the works.
Yeah, I'm sure there's like bidding wars over it.
Yeah, no, it is totally cinematic. And I love how she gets like spiritual and like also brings that element into it, like with her like understanding of like the universe or how people are connected, because I feel like it's good that she's more open to kind of magical thinking. And might be make her fans or other people also more comfortable with their own magical thinking that's also like pathologized in popular
Hmm.
culture and psychiatry and stuff like that. That's good too.
Yeah, I mean, I think she kind of had to adopt that. I mean, how else would it make sense? Like the situation that you're in.
Yeah. And that's how it happens. And I also like these conservatorships, I have to say, when I was in Brooklyn, I was thinking about talking about this forever. And so the
Mhm,
fact that she's talking about it is really important because I didn't really know who to talk about it with. But like
mhm,
I learned when I worked in Brooklyn that these conservatorships are happening like all the time. And like for example, like like there was this whole racket that was undercover with me and this other psychologist friend of mine. She had a patient who was in one of these conservatorships, and like
Mhm,
she didn't understand the medical decisions that were being made for her patient, and like she felt like they weren't in the patient's best interest.
mhm,
And then instead of just like when you work in these hospitals, everyone that works there, I mean, God bless them trying to work in these like hospitals that are severely underfunded and they're totally overworked and everything. But everyone's
mhm,
kind of like glassed over and like kind of dead inside feeling like they're just so overworked and underpaid and stressed out and working with like the most severe cases of like mental illness and like physical health and in the worst circumstances and they have no funding and whatever. But like
mhm,
people tend to not follow up. Like I worked in an AIDS clinic and like when I worked at other hospitals before that, if one of our patients passed away, there was always a meeting about like a mortality meeting of like what happened in this person's case and could this have been prevented in some way or could we have done better in some way to like have helped this person that died. But when I worked in the
mhm.
AIDS clinic, like literally one of my patients, not just one of the clinic patients, one of my patients even died like every month. And that not including everyone else's patients that died. Like multiple people were dying like all the time. And like there was never any of these meetings, you know? It's like it's just like weren't happening. But anyway, so my friend who's like a go-getter, kind of more type A personality, she's like, "What is
Mhm.
going on with this woman?" And she like uncovered this whole thing where like this woman had a conservator. She was older, and because she didn't have any family that was able to like take care of her, she was taken over by this person. She had never met the conservator had never met her in real life. It was all just like paperwork that was done, and she had been actually like forcibly removed from her home. Her home sold, and all of her stuff sold, and put into this hospital where she was living and where did all that money go? It went to this like conservator's like business. And then on top of that, when my friend was like really pushing it, this conservator literally was in charge of like 500 people. Like not a few
Oh,
people, like 500 people. And he didn't even meet them. Like it was just like some like business thing where it's just like, oh, this person, they're not doing well, they need to be hospitalized, there's no family, and they just shuffle them into these kinds of arrangements. And like this is just someone's job. And then on top of it, if you look it up, you don't actually need like a license, like a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a medical doctor to become one of these conservators, you
I
know?
mean, get her father.
Yeah, exactly. Her dad did it. So it's like this person, you could just like set up this kind of business and start taking people's shit, and just like locking them away and like, well, no one's gonna complain because they don't have any family. So it's like a whole crazy racket.
Mhm. What I thought was, like she goes into it in the book, like, more in detail, but what I thought was obviously really shady was she was giving, like, names and kind of, like, numbers and, like, what people were that's what I was impressed by. She was, like, giving, like, what people were making off of her, and she was giving specific numbers, which I was I don't know, I like that. Um,
Yeah. Also
but
shows that she was aware.
yeah. So, yeah, was aware and had been, like, digging.
Mhm.
So, it was, like, one of the guys who was, like, sort of a part of her legal team, like, also had stakes in, like, the touring company that she was attached to, and so, like, all of the numbers and the profits and, like, the roles were all mixed, and then it was everyone is profiting off of her, but just the fact that that exists and there's no it's like, who's checking? Like,
No one's
is there
checking.
anyone checking?
Yeah, this could happen to Britney Spears, you know,
Mhm,
at like the height of her career, you know?
mm,
Yeah, and so imagine all the people that are not Britney Spears that don't have anyone. It's like total abuse. This is total
mhm,
abuse that this woman went
mhm.
through. And I also thought it was interesting the song, like one of my favorite songs by her is the Work Bitch song, but that she made that song like while this was happening and she was like working in Vegas and stuff and like not allowed like not to work, but she also like wasn't allowed to have a life and was locked up. And then she made that song. That was like
Yeah,
really that's art right there.
yeah, 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 it is.
Yeah.
Um,
She's like, "Hello, help me." Please help. But without saying it, saying
But
it
I
through
feel like you could
songs.
look back at a number of her songs and say that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's the song Lucky, like from like the late 90s where she's like this sad pop star. Um, even like Circus, that was at the height of like the paparazzi, and that was at the beginning of the conservatorship. I mean, not to like go into like a deep philosophical thing over like Britney Spears music, but
Do
like
it.
I no, I
I'm here
do
for
think
it.
she kind of was like in a very pop way, kind of narrating what was actually happening, but it was
Hmm.
just done in like this very slick, pop friendly
Yeah, because
um
that's her art
way.
form.
Hmm.
She's definitely a
Yeah,
true artist, the way she talks about everything, you know?
yeah, she knew her best material, I think. I mean, the thing that I'm glad that she's getting like credit for is like her Blackout album that came out around, I mean, it was during like when she was first institutionalized and like shaved her head and like during the divorce and like postpartum, like she had so much going on, but she like knew that was her best album. And critically, I feel like that's when people were kind of starting to look at her like, oh, she's making things that like aren't, they're unusual for pop music, or like the sound is unusual, and she was in charge of it. And I just I don't know, I think she continuously gets just like a hard rap, like it always has. um but yeah, I definitely think there's more like to her, and I think that the book is really rebellious. Like I think it's a rebellious book.
Yeah, it's great. No, and like as she also talked about like her boyfriends and how they like, they would be sleeping around or whatever, but then she would be like painted as this whore slut girl or whatever. And like, yeah, it's just like this is like the epitome of like the woman's life for forever, but like even this can even happen to Britney Spears and just like such a severe extent.
Hmm.
And I think it's great that she wrote this book and told her side of the story, but she said her sister wrote a book. Everybody else is writing books about her and telling their version and making money
Hmm.
off of her. It's so
Hmm.
gross. It's so gross. I
Hmm.
definitely have a lot more respect for her. Before I didn't really think about her. It's like it's a pop star. But
Hmm.
yeah, no, she's a real person.
Yeah.
Pop stars are people too.
Yeah.
you know and how
Hmm.
that guy, oh my god, I knew that I didn't like Kevin Federline before because like obviously, but after reading this it's like what a fucking dick. And that, yeah, someone keeps your kids from you and then like your mom is
Yeah,
gonna
you're
go
gonna go
insane.
insane.
Yeah, you can't do that. Little kids, little babies, infants, an infant kid and a toddler. And
Hmm.
yeah, moms are gonna go crazy and like climb the fence and try to break into your house because it's their fucking
Yeah.
kid. They
Yeah.
should.
Hmm.
A good mom
But
should do that.
yeah, especially like she was a new mom. She also, I believe, was suffering from postpartum. Like, uh, why wouldn't she just completely bug out? She had every reason to.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like, of course, like,
Hmm.
like, of course that would happen. That's another
Hmm.
good point as well. Postpartum, with all these women that have talked about it publicly, like Brooke Shields and now Britney Spears, and um, like I had a friend who described it as like when she had her son, like she said literally she felt like she was walking, like taking steps down into hell. Like she said it was like I am now in Hades and I cannot leave this underworld and like I'm going to be trapped here forever. Like she said it was like epically horrendous. And
Hmm.
of course people are just like, no, but you should be happy because you're a new mom. And if you're not, just
Hmm.
take some medication. But it's like, why don't we talk about, wouldn't it be much more interesting to talk about like what's going on that happens to women?
Hmm. And
It
why isn't
can't
it
be
talked
just
about? Yeah.
hormones. Like, I'm sure hormones have an effect. Hormones definitely affect everyone. But like, yeah, so it's something, yeah. I don't have the answer. I don't have any
Hmm.
kids, but I can imagine.
Hmm.
It would be much more interesting to talk about the complexity of all of these things rather than like, oh, that shouldn't happen and you should just medicate it away.
Hmm.
Maybe people have negative feelings sometimes when they have kids.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, of course, and I
It's a
think
big
more
job.
so than people admit. Yeah,
Yeah. It's a
yeah,
big lifelong job that you can't get out of. You can't return
ever.
the puppy.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm not even sure why. I've been like on kind of like a celebrity memoir kick
Ooh, what else did you read?
recently. So I started Priscilla Presley's book, Elvis and Me, that the movie Priscilla is based on. It's really interesting. It's like, I mean, she's analyzing Elvis and like their relationship, her role in it. Um, yeah, but it's interesting, like I guess with any memoir, and this is why like I'm picky and choosy with memoirs. Um, you could sort of give like this surface uh I mean, you know this, you just wrote one. Like you can give this sort of like surface narrative for the reader. Like you can sort of write for the reader and it could be sort of boring, or you can like actually bring them inside and like inside your head and try your best to like explain that to someone or to explain that to an audience. And it's never going to turn out exactly how you picture it, but I think that there's something in the exchange of like trying to explain something here and then transmitting it to someone else. And to me, what interests me is like the in between period of like execution of executing it and like what it sort of turns or morphs into. Um, and I think like with Priscilla Presley's book, you can, and even with the movie too. I mean, I just like I hate online headlines now because it's just clickbait. But like some of them like really simplified it. Like Elvis was a groomer, which like yeah, I'm sure like he was, or it's debatable that he was, but or I saw one that was like, was Elvis evil? Like it's so stupid. But like I was thinking about Priscilla Presley. That book came out in 1985, so that was like 8 years after he died. Um, like she was probably in her mid to late 30s at that point that she wrote it, and she's looking back like as a reflection of starting when she was 14 when she met him, and sort of um, explaining the point of view of a 14-year-old girl, sort of analyzing this person who is going to become her husband, and then doing it post death, like post his death. Um, as a mother in her 30s. I just thought I just think it's really interesting. There's just like a lot of factors into what it is that you're reading.
Yeah, I
If that
really
makes
want. I mean,
sense.
I have to. No, totally. I really want to check that book out because this we have such a small town that it's like a movie comes and sometimes you have to see it like right when it comes
Yeah,
because
you
it might
told
only
me
have one
that.
showing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Sunday, Poor Things is playing, and I'm like, we have to go. But Priscilla played when I was still working because I get off work at 7. A lot of times they start at like 6:30 or 7. And I'm like,
Mhm.
"Ah." So I didn't get to see it, and it only
I
had the
loved
one
it.
showing.
Yeah.
Then it disappeared. But it will be
Yeah.
streaming soon.
Yeah.
Also, May December, I want to see, which
Oh,
has
you would
one showing in April, so I
of
can't
like
miss it.
of all people, you need to see May
I
December.
have to see May
It's
December.
yeah, I really liked it. It's Todd Haynes. He like really plays with genre in it, but it's like a psychoanalyst's dream. Not only because of the content, but it's sort of like, are you watching I mean, is it's there's just questions of like, is it a melodrama? Is it a comedy? Is it a drama? Is it a psychological drama? Is it like at points, does it resemble a horror movie? And the thing is, it's all of it. And it just like weaves like this, and the actors, while they're like deeply in the role, they know what they're making. Like they're aware that it's about 8 different genres. So I think it's up your alley. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to check it out. I remember that whole case and then finding out that they ended up getting married even though she went to jail a bunch of times or whatever.
Hmm.
And having like 3 kids or something.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, I was I think I'm his exact age. So yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Totally, but I definitely wanna check out Priscilla. I saw the Elvis movie and thought it was really good, but that's the other thing about that time, like, it was pretty normal to get married when you were, like, super young. Like, my mom got
Yeah.
married when she was 16, and, like,
Mhm.
Marilyn Monroe got married when she was, like, 16. So it's, like, really common to get married so young, and it's like, yeah, maybe he's a groomer, probably, but, like, kind of all guys were at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that was, like, the culture was a groomer, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that went like I mean, I feel like that went well into the 70s
Yeah,
where
the
it
culture was
was
like that not that
what it
long
was.
ago, and it's still like that a lot of places. It's been kind of
Mhm.
the norm of humankind for, like, ever. I'm not saying that makes it okay, I'm just saying that it's been the norm for a long time.
Mhm.
And still is probably more the norm. Actually, I've been thinking about this a lot, like, the way that we think culture should be is actually it's, like, so kind of rare and that, like, not a lot of people practice culture in the same way. And
Mhm.
and the idealized way I have where, like, everyone can do what they want and whatever. Like, I'm even realizing moving to Sweden, like, I am not normal, I don't have any kids, I got married at 39. It's like, society is really set up for, like, this specific thing, like, you pay a lot of taxes, but your kids get free schooling and, like, this is how it's set up for this, like, nuclear family, people that work a 9 to 5 job, and it's, like,
Mhm.
really becoming very obvious to me here because it's like when we were in Stockholm, we were Carl and all his artist friends, that was one thing, and they didn't really leave the apartment much, but the more I, like, move around, I'm like, "This place is, like, in some ways very modern, like, their, like, trains are really good and their banking system and everything's through apps and there's no cash and this kind of thing, like, super futuristic. I don't know if having no cash is good, but that's the way we're headed. But in some ways, it's, like, very provincial. Um,
Mhm.
and then you think worldwide, like, a lot of people are still in patriarchal structures and, like, it's not okay to be queer and, people get beaten or killed, and so,
Mhm.
like, it's not good, but, like, it's still the norm in a lot of places, sadly. Like, we're working towards something that we want to be, like, more universal, but,
Mhm.
like, it's actually pretty rare.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. So I went running last night and I was sort of thinking in terms of that. And I mean, obviously patriarchy and the nuclear family, it's just sort of embedded. Like it's just a lot of it's embedded, and I think a lot of it, if you choose to, you have to sort of undo that wiring. And it is, I mean, the outside world is largely catered to straight people and nuclear families. Like it's
Mhm,
just what it is. But then I was thinking of like not even queer people, but like queerness in a way. And like I wrote about this in my book years ago. I just like had this visual of it of like I viewed it like a plane. Like it's like this flat plane and you can kind of go anywhere with it. You could lead many different lives. You don't have like this set structured lifestyle. There's really nothing there's no norm of it. So it to me I just like I wrote about how like there's something experimental in queerness and queer lifestyle and how you can kind of do anything with it. There's possibilities where but it's like if you don't realize that you just may never know. And it doesn't matter like what your sexuality or gender is, but I think because we're automatically given this patriarchal structure of a ladder, really, um,
mhm.
but no matter who you are, if you see it and you choose to not live that way, you there's just a lot of unknotting I think you have to do to live a
Constantly.
different life. Yeah,
And then you keep bumping up against it, you're like, "Why is this happening?" You're like, "Oh, right, because I live in
because
this,
this
like,
is what it
patriarchal
is.
nuclear family structured society."
Yeah,
I see. It's
yeah,
not made for people like me.
totally.
Weirdos. It's not made for the queerdos.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's not.
No, it's not, but that's we persist anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So also, then I'll also mention Matthew Perry's book because
Yeah, how is
reading Britney's and Matthew Perry's back to back
did
is
you
very
pick
interesting.
his up after he died?
Yeah. I just
Hmm.
picked them both up over the winter break. And I was thinking of picking his book up when it came out, and I saw him on Colbert or something like that. But then I was like, no, I'm trying not to buy so many books. I have so many books, but I had to buy these
Mhm.
two and read them after he died and everything. But I definitely like for him, I feel like the issue there, I definitely have more sympathy for Britney Spears and like because she was just abused. And Matthew Perry, as he kept saying, like was doing it to himself, but obviously it was like a psychological problem. But like
Mhm.
I don't I don't like the model of like alcoholism being a disease because it makes it seem as if people are helpless and like they can't control themselves. And I feel like if like this guy needed psychoanalysis, honestly.
Mhm.
He had a lot of
Mhm.
money. If they had put him in psychoanalysis instead of like into these like hospital like AA program kind of things, I think he would have loved it because I think he would have loved like talking about himself and like getting to understand where all this was coming from. And I think it really would have helped him
Mhm.
because so I feel like his book was a big fail like, his life was a big fail on the medical industry, and, like, he kept saying in the book, like, people didn't want him to die in their hospital because he was this guy from Friends, and so they just, like, make sure he was okay and patch him up and, like, get him out of there as quickly as possible, and on the other hand, they would, like, milk him basically for money in these, like, programs where he went to, like, rehab, like, 35 times or something,
Really?
like yeah, it was, like, insane, and it was, like, and I don't think I do have sympathy for him. I didn't mean to say I didn't have sympathy for him, but I have more sympathy for Brittany because what a plight. But in his case, he was kind of like he was wronged by the prominent dominant medical care system and the way they think about these issues because like you can give
Mhm.
someone all the medication in the world, you're just like switching his alcohol addiction for another addiction, and then he got addicted to fucking
Pills.
opiates. Yeah, and
Yeah.
he ended up on opiates, which is horrible and obviously has happened to so many millions of people. And so you're just like switching one problem for the other without getting to the root of like why does he have this problem in the first place. He just like seemed to have like this like hole inside that he was trying to fill, and like even becoming famous and buying all these houses and dating Julia Roberts and all this stuff like didn't make him feel better. Just like had this void. And
Where did he
psychoanalysis
grow
is
up?
great for
Yeah.
the void.
Where did he grow up?
He's Canadian, like
Hmm.
Toronto. Yeah, and then he moved to LA because his dad was an actor. He talks about his dad being the Old Spice man. And that he would see his dad when he lived in Canada, like, all over billboards and stuff, but I didn't see him much in person, and then his mom, got a new family, basically, and then, he went to live with his dad in LA and became an actor too, and he also, like he says things like I guess that's what made me feel a little less sympathetic because he says things like, "These things always happen to me," like, "Oh, my life's so difficult," but, like, literally, he became an actor, like he was like at a diner, like chatting with girls and making them laugh when he was like in high school or something. And someone was like, "Hey, I want you to be in my film." You know what I mean? So it's like, you're pretty lucky.
This is like gonna be like a unpopular opinion, but like so the thing that went kind of viral when he passed away, it was like an interview or multiple interviews because I feel like he's said this multiple times, but it was like uh he doesn't want to be thought of as Chandler from Friends. He wants to be remembered as someone who is always helping someone. And like the thing that makes me laugh a little bit about that is like I just thought it sounded douchey. I just thought it was sort of like I want to be remembered as someone who helps. Like I don't know. I just
He is Chandler.
yeah.
You just
Also,
be
like
happy that he's Chandler and that he
no, there's
had
nothing
that
wrong
many
with
billions of
like
dollars.
I don't know. Like if it was truly charitable, does everyone have to know that? I don't know. I just
It was a very LA thing to say.
yeah, that's what I mean. I thought it was like a very actorly LA thing. I mean, I'm
Mm.
sure his intentions were like wonderful, and I'm sure he did help a lot of people. But I
Yeah, he
did think
like
that
built
it was,
rehabs and things like that. And
yeah, it was an LA actor thing to say.
Super.
Mhm.
And I think he must have known that he was going to die soon and wrote this memoir, you know? It's sad when you read the memoir after he dies because literally throughout the whole thing, he's like, "I'm just so amazed and happy that I'm still alive." He doesn't like I don't mean to laugh so much, but he says that like 10 times or something, and I'm like, "But you're not alive." And the
Yeah.
book ends with him like, you know, look like in his he keeps buying houses and trying to get a better view, and the bigger and better doesn't solve it. It's like the classic. He has the classic like symptom of our era of like, you know, white male, super classic privilege life, but always feeling like it's never enough, it's not enough, I'm not enough. You know, I can get the Ferrari and the car and the girl and the job and the fame, and it's still not enough. And it's because this is why psychoanalysis is so good. Psychoanalysis is supposed to help you realize that like that's because all these external things that you are trying to fill the void with, that's not really what you need or want. You have to figure out like how to stop doing that. It's like on the one hand, that drive to like do more and better like keeps us like, you know, creating new things and trying to improve our lives and stuff. But like, if you really believe that like getting a car or a house or a girl or whatever is gonna like solve all your internal issues, like you're just really off base. But a lot of people believe this, and our whole culture is built around feeding people this. You know, if you just buy
Mhm.
this or you look like this or you get this skin cream or whatever, you're gonna feel better. You know, but it's
It
not
kinda
true.
Yeah, I mean, it kinda sucks because it's like part of me feels like that's such an like, that it's really antiquated and that, like, culturally, I would hope that we're past that, you know what I mean?
We are
But I
not.
feel like, especially with, like, the rise of social media and TikTok and everything that is so image-based that you can manipulate. I mean, I was talking about this with a coworker the other day. The thing that I find, like, sick is so Google has this phone now where you or a program, I think it's a phone, I don't know. You can edit basically, you could, if there was like a family photo and you didn't like how someone looked or something, you take you can edit them and put in another picture and just create your own photo. Like you can just create your own memory. um so yeah, no, I mean I guess we're not past that at
Not
all.
at all. We might be getting more into it,
Worse.
sadly,
Yeah.
because of social media and all the advertising going on it.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I
I would
mean,
love to believe like, "Oh, that was so 80s," but no.
yeah. I mean, it's scary to think like collectively, I don't know. I just don't want to be around like a whole society that's like not going past the surface of something. And that's scary.
It's really scary, and it's a I don't wanna pick on America, but it's a very
Oh,
American
it's no,
thing.
it's American. Like it is
Maybe
very
do need to
American.
pick on America,
I
but
think
it's
it's the
very
most American.
American.
Yeah,
Yeah, and also living here has made me realize, like, I knew that all the movies and stuff were, like, all over the world or whatever, but I didn't realize, like, to what an extent, like, cultural imperialism from America is a really real thing, and, like, all the kids, like, here, they think they have the same issues as in the States, but it's like, this is a different country, you know? Like, but, like, America has made its issues everyone's
everyone's
problem.
issues.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
no, that
it's
everyone is
always
just
done that.
concerned about America's problems.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah, it's like
really
America's like a fame. It's like a fame whore in a way.
yeah, and
Or
the image of what it's projected in movies and stuff like that, you know, and I'm still taking Swedish. I've graduated Swedish for immigrants classes, and now I'm in Swedish as a second language, and
mhm.
it made me so sad the other day because like most of my classmates are from Syria, from the war, and this one woman was like, "Oh, you're American? Like, have you ever been to Hollywood?" And it makes me so sad that like like everybody like has this idealized image, like, "Oh, Hollywood, she was like, "I would love to go there," but it's just from, like, watching movies, and I'm just thinking, like, if you ever saw Hollywood as, like, the Walk of Fame, you know, like, it's
Yeah, it's
not
like
what you imagine it is at
no, it's not.
all. Mm-mm. But, like, everybody believes it, you know?
Mhm.
Everyone believes the image, the
I mean, it's
imaginary.
sort of like just American propaganda.
Yeah, it's worked. I mean, yeah,
Mm,
a lot of for a lot of people, it has
mm,
worked.
mhm.
It's very unfortunate, and it's made people, like it's like this like idea of like focusing on the surface, it's supported that, it doesn't want people to look under the surface, because if you look under the surface, you'll see how fucked up everything is. So like, no, just stay here where it's glossy and shiny,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't even know what's gonna happen with this next election. So we'll
Yeah.
see. That's a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Freud actually said that he came to America once in 1909, and even then he was like, America's gonna be the end of civilization.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the next like 6 months are gonna be telling of what I don't know. I mean, obviously it's like Trump and Biden as
Again.
the nominees. Yeah. I just feel like there's gonna be, I don't know. I feel like within the next 6 months there's gonna be like weird wrenches thrown in. Not totally sure what I mean by that. I just feel like I don't know. I just have this weird feeling like there's gonna be surprises. I don't even know what that means. I don't know if that means he's gonna get convicted and then hopefully, but
He'll get
like,
to become president and then pardon himself.
yeah, like it's something like I just feel like something really like wild is, I mean, it already is wild, but I feel like something absurd is going to happen. And like that's what I mean, Trump is absurd, but that's what I remember a lot from 2020, but the absurdity of like his antics, just like smoke bombing protesters and like going to a church that wasn't even open and doing a photo shoot and holding a Bible upside down like an idiot. Like that level of sort of absurdity, I
Right.
feel
And when
like
they did that
it's
like
coming.
conference in front of like a porn store or something.
Oh yeah, and yeah, no, because they got the address wrong.
Oh my god.
The Four Seasons. I think
Yeah.
I don't know. It was like supposed to be Four Seasons or something, but I think it was either like a porn or a
It
mechanic
was like
shop.
a fertilizer store or something.
Yeah.
I just turned it into porn in my mind, I guess. That's what my mind does.
I feel like it could have been a mechanic. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Something like that. Anyway, it
Mhm.
was the wrong place and they did it anyway. No, it's totally absurd, and it's just, like, totally tragic, and, like, how is it
Mhm.
even happening? How can you, like, attempt to overthrow the government and then still become the president? Like, I don't know. It just shows the level of corruption. I'm convinced that the reason they don't, like, actually put him in jail or anything is because all of those politicians are so dirty and have done, like, similar things, just not to the same extent, that if they, like, open the door of, like, putting one of them in jail, like, so many of them can go to jail, and that
Mhm.
they'll like have this like silent agreement that they won't do that to each other
Mm,
because
mhm.
they're all so fucking dirty.
What I was thinking was like, um, I don't know, like how like familiar, or like caught up you are with stuff, but Nikki Haley, like the other Republican runner, um, I don't know. Biden said, or Biden's team released a statement saying like, um, going into like 2024 with Trump as the nominee, which like he is not yet. But I was thinking, think about all of the money and the prepping that Biden's team has done with trusting that Trump is going to be the nominee. Let's say he's not. Their entire campaign is fucked. So it's almost like they almost need him to be the nominee because what is the election material going to be if he's not? It
Yeah,
would,
they
I
need
mean,
him to be the nominated so that he looks so bad that Biden looks good in comparison, even though
yeah,
Biden is
it's
also
like, yeah, he's
horrendous.
not looking, he hasn't been looking so hot in a bit.
Since before he became the nominee.
Yeah.
I was like, really, you have all these amazing people. You could put up Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders, and you put up fucking Biden. Like, what are you talking about? Why? Like, oh, it's the same shit.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's almost like they kind of try to sell it like that's your trustworthy uncle. um,
No, it's
yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Democrats have been winning elections because they're not as bad as Republicans for, like,
Yeah.
as long as I've been alive. You
Yeah,
know?
totally.
It's like, "Can you guys get a different platform?" Except for
Mhm.
Obama. Obama's the only one who, like, actually, like, had a personality and was like, "Yeah, okay, I wanna vote for that guy." But
Mhm.
everyone else is just like, "Well, I'm not the Republican."
Mhm. Yeah, it's true. Mm.
Yeah. Well, we're at the end of our hour,
Aw,
Jason. It's so fun
that
to
went
chat
by
with
quick.
you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you for having me.
Everyone should check out your book, Can I See Your Niche? And let's make a book event in New York when I'm
Yeah, let's
there.
do that.
That would
Yeah,
be so
looking forward
fun.
to that. Mhm.
Will you be in charge of picking the best place?
Sure.
You pick the best place, and yeah, I'll email you about it. We can set it up.
Alright,
Excellent.
well, I'll look into
We're gonna
that.
have a book
Yeah.
launch.
Yay.
Yay! And that way all of our friends can come there, and that's how I can see everybody at once, since I'm
Yeah.
only gonna be
Oh,
there for
sick.
like
It's
a
a
second.
win-win. Yeah.
It's a win-win-win.
Mhm.
Yay. Okay.
Alright.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.